Do you need to take drugs to be a creative musician? Hello everyone, and welcome to Movie Reviews by Josh, your daily source for the insights on the newest and greatest, and not always the greatest, movies. My name is Josh Terry, and today I want to tell you a little bit about a new documentary called Chasing Trane, a documentary of John Coltrane. Now, one of the things I want to mention off the top, to give you a little perspective on this review, is that I'm a big music guy. I really love music. I play music. I really love music movies, but I'm not really what I would consider an expert when it comes to jazz. So this was kind of an interesting movie for me to watch because I've obviously heard of John Coltrane. I think most people have, but I'm not really to the point where I would recognize his music off the top of my head, just hearing it without having it identified for me beforehand. And I can't honestly really say what it is technically that separates him as a jazz musician. Chasing Trane wants to do that. This is kind of a pretty routine documentary in terms of its structure and style. We enter the story in 1957, which is a critical year for Coltrane because he had been growing and performing and spending some time with Miles Davis. He'd also wound up getting into some trouble with drugs. And in 1957, he had to decide, is he going to keep going down the drug path, which is going to potentially ruin his career, or is he going to get himself cleaned up and become the incredible legend that he is heralded as today? Obviously, he chose the latter path. And one of the things that's really interesting about this documentary is how you hear a lot of his contemporaries talking about the heroin myth. And by myth, what I mean is, whereas I think a lot of times it's easy to see that, or people believe that you kind of have to take drugs in order to be creative, in order to be an incredible musician. A lot of his contemporaries are refuting that and saying that there was just this really negative drug culture that was a myth, that this was not true. And that was one of the things that jumped out to me. One of the other things that really jumped out was Coltrane's spirituality, because as he made this change in his life, because he was a family man at the time, he also really kind of made his music kind of a spiritual quest to really be able to connect with God and to find a way to serve other people. And this documentary, to my surprise, I just kind of expected it to be kind of a normal music documentary, but it was actually very uplifting. It was very inspiring. Talking about a man who had some problems, and it does kind of gloss over his problems a little bit. You definitely get the feeling that there's more than one viewpoint, more than the viewpoint that's being shared here. But even without becoming totally fluent in the man's music, you get a sense for what he was about, and Chasing Trane sets it up to be something that's pretty impressive. There are all kinds of interviews with his family members, his children, some of the people who played with him. We also get some famous faces. Even Bill Clinton, our famous saxophone playing ex-president, shows up. Carlos Santana comes on, who's technically not a jazz musician, but he had a good way of putting it when he said that whereas other musicians play jazz or play blues or play soul, John Coltrane played life. So overall, I gave Chasing Trane 3 stars out of 4. I really enjoyed it in terms of its content, and I think it's definitely worth a watch. As a documentary, it's not really mind-blowing. I think it's pretty routine, but good, solid job, and I think it's worth a look. Chasing Trane is not rated, but it would probably wind up somewhere in the PG-13 realm. There's a little bit of scattered profanity here and there, and some disturbing imagery, because actually late in his career, and this is one of the things that I thought was kind of cool, Coltrane actually, before he died, early at age 40, if you didn't know, he went to Nagasaki because one of the things he wanted to do was kind of extend a musical olive branch to Japan in the wake of World War II. And in the process of seeing that, we see some images from the aftermath of the atomic bomb that comparatively is not really very graphic at all. And that's why I say this one's probably pretty soft PG. Really not a whole lot here, I think, to deter anybody who's interested. And there's a lot of music. Denzel Washington does the voiceovers of Coltrane's actual words when they're reading from his letters and such. And yeah, go check it out. So what do you think the role of drugs is when it comes to popular music? Leave your answers in the comments below. So thanks once again for watching. This has been Movie Reviews by Josh, your source for daily insights on new movies. My name is Josh Terry. Please take the time to subscribe on your way out and leave your notifications on. And give a look to our sponsor, Rockagator. They make great waterproof backpacks and socks.